I've given you that flexibility. My recorded videos are available on YouTube, and I've also shared the link on WhatsApp. So you kindly go through, if you somehow you miss the class, you kindly go through the lecture so that you can connect with the subject that we are moving forward. See, this is not like, you did not hear one song and then you enjoy the next song. It's like a, continuous melody. And so if it is a continuous melody, I mean, somewhere in between, you miss the thread and you don't enjoy. Uh, Let me share my PowerPoint presentation, a particular slide on which I want to discuss, which is the one before you. Okay. I suppose it is, uh, I suppose I have shared. Okay, I have not shared. Let me share it. Okay, is my screen visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. See, what is it that we have talked about so far? Is there anybody in the class? In that sense, I'll take a minute to say that I've talked of the main objective of financial management. I've talked of conflicting goals of financial management. Maybe that will be a good idea that I show a slide here, right? This is what we have been talking. Main objective of financial management. Then debate between profit versus wealth maximization as the main objective. Then we talked of three conflicting goals of finance: profitability, liquidity, and solvency. Then we discussed about risk and return trade-off. And I mentioned at that time that this time value of money is also one of the important introductory topic, but I'll discuss it along with one of the important decisions in finance, that is investment decision. So this time value of money we have not discussed, but we will be discussing while we are discussing investment decision. And I mentioned, there are four important decisions that we are going to cover in this curriculum: investment, financing, dividend, and working capital management decisions. Actually, that's again, a set of decisions. So of these four, the first three, investment, financing, and dividend, is what we describe as major decisions in finance. And we are now beginning with investment decision in today's class. And it is in this context that we are talking of, let us say, an asset. So an asset is, we take it as a set of cash flows over different time periods, right? A stream of cash flows, inflows and outflows. When you procure an asset, you pay something. So that's like your cash outflow. Or you may say you invest into it. And then once you invest into it, because you are procuring it for the purpose of business, you will use it for business. So it will generate some cash flows, some cash inflows, right? When you undertake business of activities over a year, over the years, it will generate cash flows. From the financial statement, we know we can calculate cash flow from a particular year, right? If we happen to know the cash flow, if we happen to have a financial statement which is, let us say, uh, profit statement or profit and loss account, from that statement we can calculate cash flow from operations, from business operations of that activity. So that's how we are looking at that any asset in which you make investment, that investment is your cash outflow, and the net cash flow that you generate is what we are describing as cash inflows from using that asset. So it is in this sense, there is some information before you. I will like to say something more before I start posing a question. Okay. And that something more that I want to say is that I have shown before you three different assets. Now, let us say you have 8,000 available with you for utilizing, for investment for deployment into investment activity. Now, this 8,000, there could be, maybe 5 more zeros after this. So if there are 5 more zeros, so you're saying 8,000 lakh, whatever the currency. Let us say you're talking of dollar terms. So it is like 8,000 lakh dollars. So if it is 8,000 lakh dollars, so you're talking of 80 crore rupees a project. Now 80 crore rupees is really not a big amount if you are putting up investment, which is a technology intensive business. Let us say you want to put up a cement plant. If you want to put up a cement plant, maybe 80 crore rupees is a very small amount. If you want to put up a steel plant, 80 crore rupees is a very small amount. You want to start running an airline operation, 80 crore rupees is a very small amount. So I have taken this figure of 8,000 just for simplification, and you can attach as many zeros as may be valid to, to look at it from a practical point of view of a project. So like that, you have, let's say, 3 different projects before you, but each of these 3 projects involve an outlay, an investment, or a cash outflow of 8,000. Now, generally in real life, it doesn't happen like that. In real life, you find, well, if you are considering, if you are evaluating a cement plant and a steel plant and a commercial operations of an airlines, a passenger service, then you may find, these 3 projects may involve different amount of cash outflows. So there also, we are bringing a kind of simplification that each of these projects involve a similar amount of or same amount of cash outflows. Now, this is a simplification. We are engaging into this simplification so that we understand the fundamentals of the subject. Now, once we understand the fundamentals of the subject, we may, bring in the complexity as may be required for a real life scenario. So there shouldn't be any difficulty in doing that. But this being a first course on finance, you want to emphasize more on understanding the fundamentals first. So when you are going on understanding the fundamentals first, then so let's take, these are the 3 cases where investment outlay or cash outflow is 8,000. And the second simplifying assumption that we are taking is that, let's say, all this happens at time 0. Now time 0 means the time when you are taking the decision. So the time you're taking the decision, it's at that time itself, all the cash outflow happens. So that's why we are saying minus 8,000 for time 0. And likewise, the next 4 figures in the case of each of these assets represent time 1, time 2, time 3, time 4, which means at the end of first year, second year, third year, fourth year, respectively. So as if this information is actually emerging out of the future financial statements. So there is like a projection, there is like a forecasting, there is an estimation which is involved. So whenever you have forecasting, estimation, projection, you'll find your information may not be certain. Your information may involve some uncertainty. But we are taking another simplifying assumption as if the information is reliable. So that's what we have before us. If you look at the real scenario, you may say, well, let's look at a probabilistic environment. So when you start looking at probabilistic environment, then, again, how do you find out what exactly is the future cash flow? So you take an expected value. So when you take an expected value, so this understanding of probability and incorporating probabilistic information to find out expected value becomes another complexity. So we are also taking a simplifying assumption there. Now, then I come to cash flow. That from a financial statement, cash flow from operations, how do you calculate? Let us say a profit and loss account gives you net profit of a year. So in this net profit of a year, let's say this is before you have paid the tax. And let us say the corporate tax is 50%, flat 50%, which means whatever you earn as net profit, there will be 50% tax that you will be paying. Although, like in India itself, for tax purpose and for financial accounting preparation purpose, there are some variations in practices. So depending upon the variations in practices, you have to calculate profit for the purpose of taxation as per the tax law. Now, so we are assuming as if it is like that. So given that it is like that, from the financial statement, you get net profit before tax, then you calculate net profit after tax. Now this net profit after tax still has some deductions which are non-cash items. Now one of the major item of non-cash nature is the depreciation of the asset. So this depreciation you add back to actually get the cash flow after taxation. Okay. So this information which is before you is assumably the cash flows of 4 years after tax. So you have done the adjustment of taxation, you have done the adjustment of depreciation. Taking the example asset A, how do we understand it? Let us say the net profit of each of the 4 years in future is 1000 rupees and corporate tax is 50%. So if that be the case, from this 1000 rupees, you will deduct 50% tax. So this amount will become 500. And in this 500, you will add back 2000 rupees depreciation. So once you add back 2000 rupees depreciation, this amount becomes 2500. Now you may ask me a question, why have I added 2000? Why not a different figure? From where this 2000 comes? So from your accounting knowledge, you know that if information is not given about, let's say, the scrap value of the asset, we assume that the scrap value is 0. Also, if information about depreciation method is not given, so we assume that the method of depreciation is straight line method. And because the cash stream is there only for 4 years, so we assume that the life is for 4 years. So if the asset which is of 8000 having a life of 4 years with straight line method with scrap value 0, depreciation will be 2000 rupees. So that is how, as an example, I am explaining that in case of asset A, there is a net profit before tax 1000 rupees, corporate tax 50%. So you deduct the corporate tax from 1000 rupees, so that becomes 500 rupees. In this 500 rupees, you add back 2000 rupees as the depreciation amount of that year. So this becomes cash flow for a year 2500 rupees. So in a similar manner, these three assets have information about cash flows before you. Okay. So if you have like this, now the question that I am trying to pose here is, by adding one more asset here. Okay. And that asset is, let us say, D. And that also involves a cash outflow at time 0 of 8000 rupees. And in the first year, 0 net cash inflow. In second year, also 0 net cash inflow. In third year, 7500. In fourth year, 2500. Okay. Now, if this is the information before you, before I ask a question, do you want to ask any clarification question, any clarifying question before I ask the question to you? Yes, anybody? If not, so my question to you people is, which of the 4 projects is better? And what is the reason you assign to arrive at that decision? So you don't just have to toss a coin, you actually have to apply a logic which will explain as to why in your eyes that project is better than the others. I can add a few more examples there, which we will do gradually so that we understand it better. Yes, anybody? You can write it in the chat box, you can unmute your mic and explain. Do you need any clarifying question at this stage now that I have posed a question to you? Let us say, since none of you are coming forward, okay, am I getting across so far? Should I move forward? Adarsh, Anu, Anurag, Janvi, anybody? Am I getting across? Khushi, Mohit, Nimisha, Preeti, Priyanka, Renu. Yes, am I getting across? Am I understandable? Ritika?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. So the question that I have posed, are you able to come up with some answer? Let us say I specify the criteria. The criteria that I specify here is that how much time will it take to get my investment back? Okay, how much time will it take to get my investment back? Now, in all the 4 years, the investment is same, which is 8,000 rupees. So let me start calculating my time. So how do I calculate this time? Let's say I do it for project A. So project A, I know in first year I recover 2,500. By second year I recover 5,000. By third year I recover 7,500. I'm still short of 500 rupees. So this 500 rupees I get in the fourth year. Now this information is about the projected financial statements, and therefore this information is coming actually at the end of fourth year or end of third year or end of second year or end of first year. So if I take an assumption that, let's say, this information of profit, this information of cash flow is consistent. So if I'm getting in 1 year 2,500 rupees, I will get 500 rupees in 1/5 of the year. In 20% of a year, I'll get 500 rupees, which means my payback period would be 500 divided by 2,500. Okay, that's how this will be. Okay, which is equal to 3.2. So in 3.2 years, I get my investment back in asset A. So does that happen in other cases also? So I check and somehow I find that in all the four cases, my answer is same, 3.2. If you have any question at this stage about the calculation or anything, you can raise that question to me. Right? It's the same. But are you convinced that all the four projects are equal? To me, it appears as if this project D is somewhat not so good. Okay, that's what comes to my mind. That in the first 2 years, it is not giving me any cash flows. And in the third and fourth year, it is giving. So it appears to me as if it is not as good as the remaining three projects. But otherwise, if I look at all the four projects, my total cash inflows is equal to 10,000. So I have devised a criteria saying that, is there a way to find out in how much time I get my money back? So let us take a different example where, let us say, the situation is like this. See, so in project E, I get my money back. So if I do this calculation for project E, can somebody tell me the calculation now? If you tell me the calculation at least, then I can assume that yes, you have understood the way I have calculated. What will be the value? Like I have calculated in the first four cases as 3.2. So if you calculate in the fifth case, what will be that value? I have given the information on the screen. First 3 years, 3,000 each, and in the fourth year it is 1,000. So total cash inflows is again 10,000. But my time in which I get my 8,000 back, 8,000 of investment back, 8,000 of my cash outflow back is different. What is that value? Can you tell me the calculation? Yes, anybody writing in the chat box? Let me see. Let me just reduce the size of my PowerPoint presentation. Yes. Okay. Kushi, yes. Yes, Kushi, you're saying something? या तुम सिर्फ अटेंडेंस लगाने के लिए यस सर बोल रहे थे? हाँ जी, किसी के पास है जवाब? बताइए क्या आंसर होगा फिफ्थ वाले प्रोजेक्ट का, जो आंसर मैंने पहले 4 प्रोजेक्ट्स का निकाला है। उसी से तो पता लगेगा कि आप लोगों को समझ आ रहा है। बताइए बताइए, इसको चैट बॉक्स में लिखिए कि फिफ्थ वाले प्रोजेक्ट का कैश कितने टाइम में हमारे जो कैश आउटफ्लो हैं 8,000 रुपीज़ वो वापस मिल जाएंगे। जैसा कि मैंने पहले वाले में एक्सप्लेन किया, एसेट ए के केस में फर्स्ट ईयर तक 2,500 rupees, by the end of 2 years 5,000 rupees, by the end of third year 7,500 rupees. So we are short by 500 rupees. So we take a fraction of fourth year. Now how much fraction we take? We are again taking a simplifying assumption that cash inflows are consistently constant over the year. Since they are consistently same over the year, we can take a flat fraction. So if we take a flat fraction, so we say 500 divided by 2,500. So in that case, we get a 20% of the fourth year. So in that way, we get 3.2 years as our payback time. Likewise, I have done the calculation, and because in the first four cases up to third year, all the four projects are giving 7,500 rupees back, and so therefore in all the first four cases 500 rupees are left to be recovered from the fourth year, and that is why this fraction of 20% is valid in all the four cases. And then I have given an example of a fifth project where the cash flow information is somewhat different. So given that difference, what will be the payback time in case of fifth project is my question. So I have repeated the calculation the way I have done the calculation. I'm sure now it must be simple. So you must take your chance to calculate and put it in the chat box. Yes. And still, if it is not clear, then you unmute your mic and ask me. बताइए। क्या हुआ सबको? हाँ जी, क्या हुआ? ये कैलकुलेशन आप नहीं कर सकते? None of you can do this calculation. बताइए बताइए बताइए, फिर टाइम भी निकला जा रहा है मुझे। ये वाला जो आज जो मैंने डिस्कशन करना शुरू किया, आई जस्ट वांट टू कंप्लीट आल्सो टुडे सो दैट वी टेक अप द नेक्स्ट एस्पेक्ट इन द नेक्स्ट क्लास। बताइए बताइए, कुछ तो दिमाग में आ रहा होगा। यस, प्रियंका। प्रीति।
सर शायद 2.6।
यस, करेक्ट। करेक्ट। इनफैक्ट थोड़ा सा और करेक्ट कर सकते हो, लेकिन तुम ठीक बोल रहे हो। मोहित हैज कैलकुलेटेड 2.5। मोहित कैसे कैलकुलेट किया? क्योंकि हमें उसका मेथड ही समझना है, क्योंकि एग्जाम्पल तो हर बार बदल जाएगा, एग्जाम में कुछ डिफरेंट इन्फॉर्मेशन होगी, तो आपको तो कैलकुलेशन करनी आनी चाहिए। और किसने बताया ये 2.6? बिल्कुल ठीक नहीं है, थोड़ा सा और एक्यूरेट हो सकता है, क्योंकि मतलब 2.67 या 2.66, 2.67 ही लेना चाहिए। बट कैन यू एक्सप्लेन हाउ यू कैलकुलेटेड, मोहित? देखिए, फर्स्ट ईयर के अंदर 3000, सेकेंड ईयर के अंदर, सेकेंड ईयर तक अप टू सेकेंड ईयर यू गेट 6000. So now you are left with recovery of another 2000 to match with your cash outflow, because your cash outflows are 8000. And so in the third year, two-third of third year cash flows would be required to recover your 8000 of cash outflows. So in that sense, if you take two-thirds, so that would mean 0.67. So this 0.67 or 0.6666 is what you will take. And so in that sense, your payback time will be 2.67. 2 years full and two-thirds of the third year. Right? Let me take one more example so that I understand that you know the calculation. Asset F minus 8000. I am deliberately taking 8000 as my cash outflows in all the four cases to assume that these are comparable. Not only to assume that these projects are comparable, but also to say that supposing you have only 8000 to invest, that means you don't have a choice to invest in more than one project. You can invest only in one project because you have only that much money. So you are constrained to choose the best project. And that's what we are discussing in this investment decision. Investment decision knowledge tells us as to how to evaluate and then arrive at which is the best project in which one should invest, because the capital resources are limited. Capital resources are not only scarce but is also limited. Because capital resources are limited, so you do capital budgeting, you do allocation of capital. So where do you allocate your capital? You allocate your capital to projects which are best, which are most efficient. So that is the criteria, because those are going to give you highest returns. So from that angle, initially you thought that let's look at the project which is giving you the money back in the shortest time. So we are trying to calculate the shortest time. So let's take this example where your cash inflows are like say 500. I'm also trying to say that in all the four cases, your cash inflows are same. Total is 10,000. Okay. So what will be the payback time in case of asset F? I'm sure now all of you should be able to calculate. And so please put it on the in the chat box. What is your calculation of payback time? How much is payback time in case of asset F? Or you can unmute your mic and tell me. 1.75 Mohit Khurana is writing, Preeti Gupta is writing 1.5, Nimisha is writing 1.5. Okay. Yes. What about others? So this answer is correct, right? So I assume that these three students are able to do it. Nimisha, can you explain for the benefit of everybody else how have you done the calculation?
सर फर्स्ट ईयर में 5000 आ गया तो रिमेनिंग 3000 विल कलेक्ट फ्रॉम द 4000 जो हमारे नेक्स्ट ईयर में हुआ.
Right. So you will take 3000
One
of those
for-
4000.
Yeah.
And that's why you have taken 3/4 of the second year.
Yes, sir.
Right. And so like this, now let us say, now I come to the next important question on this topic itself. And let's say my calculation becomes, and be careful when you're answering this question, which is my asset G. Okay. And the information is like this. Okay. So now in the case of asset G, my payback time remains the same. Okay. So if I'm comparing my asset F and asset G, the payback time in both the cases is same, no difference. It will be 1.75. Let me write it here. F I missed something in between also, but right now let us focus on this 1.75 years, and G also 1.75. But do you think that if there is a choice between project F and G, we cannot say which is better from your common sense? If we are comparing project asset F and asset G, or project F and project G, and we need to select only one of these two, payback time in both the cases is coming out to be 1.75. But don't you think that if the choice is on one of the two, which one will you choose?
Sir, F.
Sir, G.
G, you will
Sir,
choose
G.
G. But somebody said F also.
सर मोहित.
मोहित, हाँ बताओ कैसे?
सर इसमें इन्वेस्टमेंट हम 10,000 कर रहे हैं.
10,000 तो किसी में भी नहीं है इन्वेस्टमेंट.
पर सर एफ में 5,000 4,000 फिर 500 500.
इन्वेस्टमेंट तो शुरू में हो गई ना 8,000 रुपए.
मतलब आउटफ्लो.
हाँ, आउटफ्लो तो शुरू में हो गया ना 8,000 रुपए.
तो इनफ्लो मतलब हाँ ठीक है सर, जी ही होगा.
इनफ्लो तो इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं है ना, इनफ्लो तो आपकी.
हाँ.
Okay, so like we know that between F and G, G is better, which means that this method of calculating payback time has an important limitation. So what is that limitation that it has? The limitation that it has is that after the payback time, what is the cash flow, it doesn't take into account. Because our payback time doesn't change even if our cash flows in third year and fourth year have become very high in project G. Our payback time calculation remains the same in case of asset F and asset G. So this is a very important limitation of this method. And there is a second important limitation of this method, which is already reflected in the case of asset D. If you compare A, B, C, and D, in all the four cases, you are getting your payback time as 3.2. But your common sense will tell you that project D is definitely worse. In fact, you can even say that project B is not as good as project A. You can say even that much. But just to highlight the point, I am saying that if you look at project D, it is more clear because it is in an exaggerated way. A real project may not have such scenario, or all the real projects may not have some such scenario. Maybe some projects may have such scenario which are reflected in project D, where there is no cash, no net cash inflows in first year and second year, and all of it is getting resulted in the third year. From where I am saying that the timings of the cash flow during the payback period, payback method or payback time calculation does not take into account. In all the four cases, A, B, C, and D, our payback time is 3.2 years. But from common sense, it appears that it is that project D seems to be not as good as the other three projects. So these are the two important limitations of this method. So I have given you the nitty-gritty of the method. When you read the book, you'll find it is easy. All of you, I suppose, is there anybody who still think that cannot do the calculation? Let me, we got 6 minutes. Let me just give another test case. So this test case is just to test your knowledge so that everybody does a calculation, and it gives me an assurance that yes, you are able to do a calculation. What I do is, I have not mentioned the information of project E here. So what I do is I change information for project E here. But although somebody has done the calculation, let me write another project here, which is project H. Right? Somebody had given the calculation, so let me not change the information there. So this project F, and let's say I am taking a case in isolation separately. So let us say cash outflow is 20,000 and cash inflows okay. So I am not comparing it with other projects. I am just showing a new case, and I am expecting you to do the calculation for this. Yes. Everybody tell me, what will be the payback time in case of project H? And you please write it in the chat box. No, sorry, wait. थोड़ा सा change करूँगा मैं इसे, थोड़ा सा change करूँगा. Yes. Now you do it. For project H, what is the payback time? Let me increase the size so that it is more legible to all of you. For project H, all of you write, somehow there are two minus. I only wanted to write one minus. So, yes. Okay. So all of you write what is the payback time in case of project H in the chat box. Yes, all of you. Till everybody writes, I am not going to comment what is the right answer. Yeah, quickly. We got 3 minutes. In that time, we also want to finish. And in the meanwhile that you are doing this calculation, of those students who have done the calculation, I am asking, so these are the two limitations that I mentioned. What are the two limitations I mentioned? Number one, it doesn't take into account the cash flows after the payback time. Number two, it doesn't take into account the timings of the cash flow even during payback time. Whatever the payback time, if the cash flows are different in different projects, it really doesn't take into account, which is so so much highlighted by looking at project D. When you look at project D, you find, well, the cash flows are so different. In fact, this should not be treated as a very good project compared to the remaining three, A, B, C. But somehow we are finding that the payback time is coming in both the cases. So then we look at, besides limitation, is there any advantage of this method? So what's an answer to that question? If we say, what is the advantage of this method? I'll put disadvantage if you are not able to come up with an answer, because we have some limited time also for this class, and I just want to conclude as well. The advantage is that in one class I am able to explain to you this aspect. So from there the advantage is visible, and that is that it is easy to understand. You can easy to follow. You know what is payback time and you can do the calculation. So in one class of 45 minutes, not only one is able to understand the concept and limitations, one is also able to understand how to do the calculation, and you are able to do calculation. Many of you are able to do calculations accurately, right? So we say this is a very easy method, and because it is an easy method, it is used by business people who are not very trained in finance. So they use it, and it is still being used, and in majority of the cases, or in most of the cases, it actually gives you the right answer. So without training, without learning, you get a right answer. But somehow when the project information becomes complex, you want to be doubly sure. So because you want to be doubly sure, you want to ensure that your answer is correct. So you want to apply sophisticated tools. So that's what we are going to learn in our future classes. So in today's class, I've just explained as to how to evaluate investment options using different methods. So we have just talked of one method today, which is payback period method. In this payback period method, we calculate payback period, and the project that gives you the shortest payback period, that is the project which is best as per this method. Now, whether it is best or not, we must look at the limitations, and in the light of that, if we find, well, there is a gray area, we apply other techniques as well. So there are 5 methods which we will be learning in our curriculum, and this is the first method I've just mentioned. Okay, I think we can conclude. I will only appeal to you people, I will suggest to you people that you be more interactive, you be more participative. If you are more participative, not only class will become interesting, you will also find that learning is also better. Yes,
Okay,
any
sir.
question, any observe? Yeah, yes, tell me. So if not, I say stop, we stop here. Okay, so if you have other classes, you may leave. If you don't have other classes, you can spend maybe few minutes more. If you have any questions, you're welcome to ask. If you have anything to say, you're welcome to say that also. I have also posted videos of my lectures on the YouTube, which I've the link of which I've shared. So you can go through there. So don't miss the classes is something that I say, because if you are in the class, you get an opportunity to interact. So this opportunity to interact, although I have tried creating through YouTube, there also you can write some comment, and when I read it, I'll reply also. But if you are in the class, you get an opportunity. You also get opportunity to hear what others are saying. So be participative, listen to others, explain, try to say things so that you know whether you are on the right track or not, is what I am advising. So I am stopping if there is nothing more. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Bye, sir.
Bye.